As a sports fan, and as many of us here are, it's really obviously exciting times, to be in Las Vegas with not only the activity that's been here for many years, but also the new activity that's beginning. And sometimes we think about it here kind of globally, looking at big organizations, but the fact is we actually have a lot of athletes living in Las Vegas that have played at the professional level and have their own concerns. And I think sometimes that's not heard as much, but I think we have the opportunity today to hear a little bit from this. And I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Linden King. Many of you know he was a linebacker in the NFL, played for the Chargers for many years, and ended up with the Oakland Raiders. He's the head of our Las Vegas chapter of the NFL Alumni Association, and we would asked him to come really to give us really more perspective from what an individual who's involved in it kind of intimately, what are the concerns and why this organization is actually very important. So, Mr. King?
First of all, I'd like to really thank you for having me out. When I got the call to come in here, when I hung up, initially it's like, yeah, this would be great. I'd come down and I'd talked to the doctors before. But it took on a whole new meaning when I started thinking about all of this. I have many guys that I played with that are directly affected by this. The guy that always comes to mind is Steve Smith, who was a fullback for the Raiders, excuse me, when I played. And like me, because he had a huge melon, he used his head. That's what we were taught to do then. If I had someone in front of me that was bigger than I'd stand him up with my head. Steve did that too, and Steve is now bedridden. They say it's Alzheimer's. He questions it. His lovely wife has to clean his trach twice a night. He communicates with a stick on a computer. And we get together every year to do what we can for him. But what can you do? And that is the basis of what triggered me, and what I wanted to say today is we played this game because we loved it. I essentially played for nothing. I was drafted in 1977. In the third round, I was a 77th player taken. I was a strong safety. I was drafted to the San Diego Chargers, and I couldn't wait to get out there and go get my big cash. I got $10,000 for signing, which for a kid out of college was a lot of money, and a $25,000 a year salary, which, when you break it down, I had to. I was playing football, basically, in the NFL as a starting player for $68 a day. That's what the 25,000 comes out over 52 weeks. But like I said, we would have done it for free. Just being there was an honor. We didn't know. We didn't know that we were putting ourselves in jeopardy. The problem is, just like these kids that you see on their skateboards coming down the sides of buildings, you can't tell them anything. You can't tell a 25-year-old that it's going to hurt him to do something. He's going to do it anyway. That's the human condition that we all want to see, that we all want to watch on Sunday afternoon. What's a sham and a shame is what, not now, but how the older players were taken care of. My daughter, whom I taught to enjoy country music, not willingly, but she was in the back of the car. She couldn't listen to anything else. But it stuck. And it's ironic that I was working on this, and she called. She lives in Oakland. She's got a 2-year-old baby now. And she said, "Daddy, do you hear the song? It's playing." Sorry. This is when you start wondering. When you get to my point in life, I'm 63 years old, and I have to ask myself, ultimately, would I have played if I know? Because the song that was playing in the background was a Kenny Chesney song, and it's called While He Still Knows Who I Am. And it's about a guy's father who has Alzheimer's. I can't remember where my house is sometimes when I go to the store. I can't remember people's names 5 minutes after I meet them. And knowing myself, I knew what it took to get out there 16 weeks a year and go to war with people. And I'm not a soft guy. But emotions just bubble up. So I know something's wrong with me. I go to get tested. I went to the Boston clinic. They told me, you've got tau on your brain. Kind of funny, though. It's not where it's supposed to be. And I say, what does that mean? They go, oh, thanks. I'm going to come here. I'm going to go through the same process. But I think what I want to say, and what I want to be heard, is that the reason I got into the Alumni Association is so that I can help fellow players that have it much worse than I do. Because it does upset me extensively when I see and hear about guys going to the ownership with obvious injuries that were obtained in football, and the one that comes to mind is Reggie Williams from Cincinnati. He's had 32 knee operations. The last one, he got a bacteria-eating thing, and he had to take off 2 inches of his leg. And the NFL offered him the same thing they offered me when I had my hip replaced, $5,200. His surgeries were well over $500,000. And they have the nerve to say something to effect, as I've heard it too, we don't know that you didn't have this in high school. That's why I'm involved in this. It's orthopedic issues, but it's mental, it's neurological as well. And we hope to join with the center to not only shed light on how to avoid this for kids down the road, but possibly to help some of our guys. You heard my salaries. We're not rich. The guys today, they're doing all right. And it reminds me of the story you hear all the time about the mom who worked 5 jobs to put her kid through college. And when he gets his degree or he's a doctor or whatever, he comes back and he buys her a house and he buys her a car. We've all heard those stories. They're great stories. The NFL has gone from $1 million business to $1 billion business in the years since I retired. And myself, I'm doing all right. A lot of my friends are not. And for them, I want to say, we want our house and we want our car. Thank you.